I'm Judith Croft and I'm the designer on Glengarry Glen Ross for the Library Theatre Company. Well, I think I'd always intended to be a designer ever since being a small child. I originally wanted to be a fashion designer, but then at school I started designing costumes and sets for school productions, and then I still went on to do fashion textiles, but while I was at university I designed again for student productions, and then I'd pretty much made my mind to transfer to theatre design, but I needed some money for the next course, so I worked for a year as a fashion designer in industry, and that really confirmed me in deciding to make the switch. So then I went to Bristol Vic Theatre School and I've been designing for the theatre ever since. My favourite part of the job, it's a difficult question to answer because I like my job so much that there are lots of favourite parts. Highlights, I suppose, are first receiving a script and starting to imagine all the possibilities of how that might be staged. I really like going fabric shopping, particularly for a period show when you're handling really lovely, luxurious and expensive and colourful fabrics. And then of course there's the moment on stage where everything comes together, possibly the dress rehearsal, when you hear the music and you see the actors in costume, they're on the set, and you start to feel as though you've really played a very significant part in the success of a piece of theatre. Right, the least favourite part is probably today actually, because today is the first day of the fit-up and we're just starting to get things on stage, and usually during the first day it all looks a bit of a mess and you sometimes get a sense of losing heart, but you know that it will come together, so you've just got to hang in there. The inspiration for the Glengarry design, well, it usually, as with all designs, it comes from many different places, in that I do a lot of research, a lot of reading, looking through pictures and now on the internet too. I have a very good book at home which is called A Day in the Life of America, and it just happens to be set in 1986, and this is a big book produced by photojournalists, so it's full of pictures, and I found that very useful for the costume and for details of officers and so on. Chris is quite specific in what he wants from the design in some detail.
What you try and do in building up a vision for a particular production is you try and build a vision together. And there are going to be things which a designer is inspired by and thinks, oh, we should really try and do that. There are going to be things which the director wants. For instance, in this production, I was very keen that in the office there is an inner office where the policeman is interviewing members of the staff because there's been a burglary. And I was very keen that the position for that door should be pretty prominent, so that when people came out of the room they made a real impact, that kind of thing. But in terms of the feel of it, the designer will do a lot of research. In this case, the play takes place in Chicago, so Judith did quite a bit of work around that, what the feel of that would be, and of course the 1980s period.
I think the most challenging part of getting everything together for Glengarry has probably been the quantity of props, which I think you will have picked up through reading the blog. I've constantly been referring to going back to another warehouse, going to another shop, looking yet again for more desks, for more files, looking for detailed props for the Chinese restaurant. It's just a very proppy show, and because it's in period, you have to always have that in mind, that you can't just go down to the shops and pick stuff up from new because it might not be right. I'm thinking about what is my favourite prop, costume or piece of set. I suspect I'm really going to like the ceiling in the office. It's a kind of raked or sloped illuminated ceiling, which I hope will look really good. I'm very pleased with my Chinese dragons, which again have been featured heavily in the blog, and I think probably in the last, one of the recent instalments, I sent a picture of them actually framed in these rather expensive frames, and I think they look great. But I really like the costumes, and today I'm looking forward to seeing the 2 suits that we've had made, which again I mentioned. We should get the finished suits and we should get them onto the actors today. The costumes are very subtle, in some ways quite similar to each other, but I feel as though we've really tried to find something that suits each character, and I'm really looking forward to seeing those on stage together.
I'm very interested to see in the first 3 scenes set in the Chinese restaurant the kind of atmosphere which is going to be created, and a certain amount of concealed lighting is going to be key to that. That's been a key really to our way of thinking of it from the beginning. I hope this Chinese restaurant not only is going to look like a Chinese restaurant, but it would also suggest something slightly hellish maybe, and as though these characters really are in some kind of inferno. And then the second act, I think I'm really looking forward to the realistic nature of this burgled office. I think it's going to look quite real. I'm looking forward to that.
The next project I'm doing for the Library Theatre Company is to design the sets and costumes for The Importance of Being Earnest, which is the last show that we're going to be producing in this particular building before we move on to new venues. So it feels quite a big and important project for me, because obviously I want it to be good. I want it to do honour to its position as the last show here at the library. As it happens, it was also the first show that was ever produced at the library. So I think I will be tempted to delve into the archives and see what they did that time around, but I certainly shan't be doing the same thing. Well, concerning my blog, I have to say I've actually really enjoyed doing it. I didn't expect that I would particularly. I thought I would do it because people might be interested and it might make them enjoy the show more. But I did find it really quite enjoyable, and it took me back to being a teenager when I always used to keep a diary, which I haven't done for years. So I did find it surprisingly enjoyable. Whether I'll do it again for Importance of Being Earnest or not, I don't know, but maybe on one of our site-specific shows that we might do next year, where all the challenges will be quite different. I think I would consider doing it again, because it was quite fun. And if you all enjoyed it, then maybe I'll do it again, yeah. I'm very, very pleased. I think the sets delivered the space that the actors needed to perform those parts. And often people don't particularly sing the set or don't particularly praise the set if it's a successful set, because it just seems right. And what it does is it allows the actors to give the best performance that they can. And that's good.